Here's the thing about the NFL. You can't hide greatness for long. You can downplay it. You can bury it on a depth chart. You can gloss over it in press conferences. But when a quarterback starts throwing darts in practice with surgical precision and poise beyond his years, that news doesn't just travel. It erupts. And right now, Cleveland is sitting on an eruption they're not quite ready to admit out loud. Shedeur Sanders, the buried third stringer, is making the Browns very uncomfortable. Let's rewind. If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. When Sanders first showed up in Cleveland, most people assumed he was there to watch, to learn, to develop behind the safer, more established names. You had Joe Flacco, 39 years old, Super Bowl MVP, the veteran hero of last year's improbable playoff push. You had Dylan Gabriel, rookie, highly hyped, still raw, but clearly part of the long-term draft strategy. And then you had Sanders, listed QB3, buried, the afterthought. But sometimes, the afterthought turns into the headline. Because while Flacco's arm shows its age and Gabriel is still trying to adjust to the suffocating speed of NFL defenses, Shedeur has been doing the one thing that nobody expected, executing like he belongs. Now, let's talk about the moment that started this buzz, the solo reps. Training camp drills are usually quiet affairs. Quarterbacks rotating in, throwing at nets, running scripted plays. Nothing too flashy. Nothing that makes SportsCenter. But in those individual sessions, when Shedeur stepped up to throw, the difference was visible. The footwork, crisp. The release, quick, no wasted motion. The ball, snapping out of his hand with timing and accuracy like he's been here before. And when he dropped one right into the target net while the other quarterbacks couldn't hit the mark, people noticed. Not everyone shouted it from the rooftops. Most media brushed it aside, calling it a nice throw from a Browns QB. But you can't fool a locker room. The guys watching knew exactly whose throw it was. And they talked and whispered. And those whispers turned into something else. Questions. Is his rookie already better than advertised? Is he actually ahead of Gabriel? And most dangerously, could he threaten Flacco if the season starts to wobble? Now, here's where it gets deliciously Cleveland. Because if there's one thing the Browns have been cursed with for decades, it's quarterback purgatory. Over 30 starting QBs in the last 20 years. Every type of experiment possible. Journeyman, high draft picks, trade targets, reclamation projects, the next big thing, prospects. And yet, here they are again, searching, waiting, hoping. So imagine the irony of the answer. The quarterback who finally brings stability was sitting right there on the depth chart, labeled third string, while everyone's eyes were on the older veteran and the newer draft pick. It's so Browns it almost feels poetic. Now let's get into why Shedeur is turning heads beyond just the mechanics. It's not just the arm talent, though that's there. It's the composure, the maturity. This is not a kid play like he's scared to screw up. This is a quarterback who drops back, scans the field, and makes decisions without hesitation. He doesn't force throws. He doesn't panic when the defense brings pressure. He doesn't waste plays trying to play hero ball. He just executes. And in Cleveland, execution is gold. Because for years, Browns quarterbacks have either been too erratic, Johnny Manziel one, too fragile, Robert Griffin III, too reckless, Deshaun Kaiser, or too inconsistent, Baker Mayfield. Fans don't want the next circus act. They don't want a quarterback who's great one game and unrecognizable the next. They want steady, consistent, mature. And Shedeur Sanders? He's quietly checking all those boxes. Now add in the trial by fire factor. He's not running reps against practice squad defenders. He's facing Myles Garrett, one of the most dominant pass rushers in the league. He's throwing against Denzel Ward, one of the NFL's sharpest corners. That's not learning the ropes. That's iron sharpening iron. And instead of crumbling, Sanders is growing. Fast. Every rep against Cleveland's defense is like a live stress test. And each time he survives, each time he finds a window, each time he makes the safe, smart play, his confidence grows. His teammates' respect grows. And those whispers, they get louder. And then there's the chemistry. Watch Sanders work with Isaiah Bond, one of the Browns' rising receivers. You can see it building. That timing, that trust, that instinctive connection where quarterback and wideout just get it. You can't manufacture that. And when a young quarterback starts building it with a young wideout, that's when franchises start to quietly get excited about their future. Because you're not just seeing plays, you're seeing partnerships forming. So here's the question that keeps hanging over this whole situation. Are the Browns overlooking the answer they've been searching for? They've had over 30 quarterbacks in 20 years. None stuck. None built the long-term foundation this team so desperately craves. And now, right under their noses, they might have one. It's not loud. It's not flashy. It's not being hyped up by the press. But Shedeur Sanders, the kid buried as QB3, is slowly, methodically, confidently showing that he could be the guy. Of course, this is Cleveland. Nothing comes easy here. Flacco is still the starter. His veteran status, his playoff run last season, and his name carry weight. He's earned that respect. But he's also 39. His arm is fading. His ceiling is low. Gabriel? He's raw, undersized, still adjusting. The kind of player you want to root for, but who doesn't quite look like the future. And then there's Sanders. Calm, patient, dangerous. The Browns can pretend they don't see it for now. They can keep calling him developmental. They can bury him on the depth chart and downplay the whispers. But they won't be able to ignore him forever. Because talent like this, poise like this, consistency like this, it always rises. So here's my take. Shedeur Sanders isn't just turning heads in drills. He's flipping the script on Cleveland's quarterback curse. It may not happen week 1. It may not happen midseason. But at some point this year, circumstances will force the Browns' hand. A Flacco decline, a Gabriel misstep, an offense that needs life. And when that moment comes, when Sanders jogs onto field, calm as ever, helmet buckled, eyes locked in, it's over. The whispers will become shouts. The questions will become answers. And Cleveland might finally have its hidden ace. So, Browns fans, what do you think? Is Shedeur already proving he's the future? Or is this just another August fever dream? Either way, subscribe. Because when the Sanders era begins, you'll want to say you were here the moment the whisper started. You know how most third-string quarterbacks in training camp barely get mentioned? They're filler. Camp arms. The kind of guys who exist so the wide receivers have someone to catch passes from during stretching drills. Usually they're invisible. But Shedeur, he's the opposite of invisible. Even when the cameras aren't focused on him, even when the media shrugs him off as just another Browns QB, he keeps making plays that people can't stop talking about. The throws aren't forced. The footwork isn't sloppy. The reads aren't panicked. He plays like a quarterback who's been here before, even though this is literally his first taste of the NFL. And that's what makes this whole thing so fascinating. Shedeur Sanders isn't demanding attention. He's quietly earning it. Now, let's dig into why this is shaking Cleveland to its core. The Browns are no strangers to quarterback controversies. In fact, controversy is practically their brand. Since 1999, they've cycled through so many starters you could line their jerseys end-to-end across Lake Erie. The names blur together. Tim Couch, Brady Quinn, Brandon Weeden, Johnny Manziel, Baker Mayfield. Each one arrived with hype. Each one fizzled under the same curse. Cleveland has been desperate for stability, for someone they could believe in. So imagine the irony if their savior wasn't a first-round draft pick, wasn't a high-priced veteran, wasn't the shiny next guy up from the college ranks. Imagine if it was the rookie they quietly stashed at QB3, thinking he needed a year or two before he was even ready to sniff meaningful snaps. That's the kind of twist you don't write. It writes itself. And look, the pressure is real. Joe Flacco is still the starter on paper, but everyone knows what that means. He's a bridge, a stopgap, a veteran presence holding the ship steady until the future walks through the door. The problem is, Shedeur looks like he's already standing on the doorstep. And Dylan Gabriel? He's in a tough spot. The kid's talented, no doubt. He's gutsy. He's competitive. But his limitations are glaring. Against NFL defenses, he looks rushed. The pocket collapses faster than his eyes adjust. And every time he hesitates, Shedeur is right there in practice, calmly threading throws in the same situations. It's brutal, but it's also reality. The NFL doesn't care about fair. It cares about results. And right now, the results are tilting in Shedeur's favor. But let's go deep in the throws. Because Shedeur's rise isn't just about mechanics. It's about presence. Presence is that unspoken energy quarterbacks carry. The thing you can't measure in drills or write down in stats. Presence is what makes 10 other guys in the huddle suddenly believe the play is going to work because he is the one calling it. And Shedeur, he's got it. You see it when he's standing next to veterans, and they're nodding along to him. You see it when he corrects a route mid-rep, and the receiver actually listens. Rookies aren't supposed to have that pull. You see it when he throws against a first-team defense. Gets hit, gets up, and keeps slinging without a flinch. That kind of calmness, that's contagious. And in a locker room that's been conditioned to expect chaos at quarterback, contagious calmness might be the most valuable trait of all. Now, let's not forget who Shedeur has been sharpening his sword against. Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome. These aren't scrubs. These are all pros, pro bowlers, cornerstone defenders who feast on bad quarterbacks. The fact that Sanders is even holding his own against them should be a headline by itself. Most rookies crack under that kind of heat. They start forcing throws, second-guessing reads, rushing footwork. But Shedeur, he adjusts. He takes what the defense gives him. He lives to fight the next down. That's veteran football IQ coming from a rookie. It's trial by fire, and instead of melting, he's hardening. And while he's sharpening himself against the defense, he's building chemistry with the offense. Let's talk Isaiah Bond. The rookie receiver is already showing flashes as a deep threat. And guess who's been hitting him in stride during practice? Not Flacco. Not Gabriel. Shedeur. There's a connection there, a natural timing that you can't fake. Quarterback to receiver chemistry isn't built in playbooks. It's built in reps and trust, in those little looks before the snap, where both guys just know. And Shedeur is already building that with Bond, with other young receivers, with the unit he's supposed to be learning with. That's not just development. That's foundation. So here's the million-dollar question. Is Cleveland blind? Are they so locked into their old habits? Protect a veteran, hype the draft pick, bury the surprise, that they're about to miss the answer staring them in the face? Because make no mistake, the whispers are getting louder. Inside the locker room, among analysts, in the dog-pound fan forums, on social media highlight reels where fans clip Shedeur's best practice throws and caption them. QB1 incoming? You can suppress that buzz for a while. But if Flacco stumbles early, if Gabriel doesn't progress fast enough, if the offense looks sluggish while Sanders is out here running clean drives in practice, that buzz becomes a roar. And once the roar starts, there's no stopping it. Think about the pressure on Stefanski. This is a coach already on thin ice with a fan base. A guy who can't afford to mishandle the one thing Cleveland cares about most. The quarterback. If he ignores what everyone else sees, he risks losing the locker room. If he delays too long, he risks losing the season. And if he benches Shedeur even after the evidence is overwhelming, he risks losing his job. Because here's the irony. The very player Stefanski is slow playing might be the one who saves him. Shedeur Sanders could be the difference between another year of what-ifs and the first real shot at stability this franchise has had in decades. And let's not understate how monumental that would be. The Browns have been cursed. Fans know it. The league knows it. A quarterback graveyard. An endless carousel. The butt of every late-night football joke. But what if this is it? What if the curse ends not with a big splashy draft pick or a blockbuster trade, but with a rookie who slid under the radar and then outplayed everyone in front of him? What if Shedeur Sanders is the one who finally rewrites Cleveland's destiny? That's why these solo reps matter. That's why every practice throw counts. Because you can feel it building, the story, the tension, the inevitability. It's only a matter of time before Cleveland has to stop calling him QB3 and start calling him what he looks like every day in practice. QB1. So, let me leave you with this picture. It's week 6. Flacco's struggling. The Browns are 2-3. The offense is flat and the crowd is restless. The camera pans to the sideline. Shedeur stands there, helmet on, chin strap buckled, calm as ever. Stefanski looks at his play sheet, looks at the scoreboard, then looks at Sanders. The decision hangs in the air. And when Shedeur jogs onto the field for that first real drive, the entire stadium erupts, not just because they're watching a rookie debut, but because deep down they know this might finally be the one. The hidden ace. The answer Cleveland's been searching for. And once he's in, there's no going back. Here's what you need to understand. The Browns thought they were writing a safe, predictable script. Veteran Joe Flacco keeps the team steady. Rookie Dylan Gabriel develops slowly. Shedeur Sanders? He was supposed to be the extra body, the project buried on the depth chart, the guy you stash away until maybe, just maybe, he's ready in 2 years. That was the plan. And Shedeur has torched it. He's not waiting politely in the background. He's not learning at the pace they mapped out. He's not acting like the rookie third string of the staff labeled him. Instead, he's showing up every single day like he owns the field already. And that right there, that's what has the entire Browns organization on edge. Because Shedeur isn't just playing quarterback. He's carrying himself like the quarterback. Now, let's talk about what that looks like in practice. Because this isn't hype without substance. Picture this. It's a routine practice day. The Browns are running individual drills. Nothing special. Just quarterbacks working their progressions. Flacco takes a rep. Looks fine. Solid veteran ball. A little flat, a little late, but accurate enough. Gabriel goes next, shows flashes, but you can tell the speed is overwhelming him. Then Shedeur steps in, and suddenly the energy shifts. His drop is sharp. His mechanics are polished. The ball leaves his hand like it's on autopilot, snapping into tight windows. He's not just hitting targets. He's commanding the drill. By the end of the session, you can see it on his teammates' faces. Heads turning, guys nodding. That silent recognition, this guy is different. And that's where the whispers started. At first, it was just quiet talk among teammates. Then insiders picked it up. Then fans started posting clips online. And now, the whispers have grown into a full-blown question the Browns can't avoid. Is Shedeur Sanders already better than both quarterbacks in front of him? And if the answer is yes, how long can you really keep him off the field? Of course, this is Cleveland we're talking about. Nothing ever comes easy here. This is the same franchise that turned quarterback roulette into a lifestyle. Over 30 starting QBs in 20 years. Do you realize how insane that is? Every type of quarterback has been through this building. The cannon arm busts, the undersized playmakers, the journeymen on their last leg. And each time, the fans hoped, maybe this is the one. And each time, the curse struck again. But now there's a kid who looks like he has everything they've been missing. Poise, accuracy, decision-making, and most importantly, consistency. Not one good throw, one good day, one good preseason game. Every single rep, every single drill. That's not hype. That's proof. But let's dig deeper into why Shedeur feels different from all the quarterbacks that came before. It's the composure. You can't fake composure. You can't scheme it. You can't coach it into existence. A quarterback either has it or he doesn't. And Shedeur has it in spades. When the pocket collapses, he doesn't panic. He resets. When Myles Garrett is charging at him like a freight train, he doesn't scramble into disaster. He steps up, finds his outlet, and delivers. When Denzel Ward is lurking, baiting him into a bad throw, he doesn't bite. He takes the smart option, lives for the next play. That's not rookie behavior. That's what you see from guys who've been in the league 5, 6 years. And yet, here's Sanders doing it in his first camp. And don't underestimate what that does to a team. Because in a sport where chaos is constant, where one bad read can flip a game, having a quarterback who radiates calm changes everything. The O-line blocks harder. The receivers trust their routes. The coaches breathe easier. Shedeur doesn't just play quarterback. He stabilizes the entire operation. And then there's chemistry. Isaiah Bond, Remember the name, because his connection with Shedeur is already becoming the stuff of Brown's legend. You can see it on slants, on go routes, on sideline fades. Sanders throws it, and Bond just knows. That kind of timing usually takes years. It's built in late-night film sessions, off-season workouts, 1,000 reps in the summer heat. But somehow, Shedeur and Bond have built it in a matter of weeks. That's terrifying if you're a Browns opponent, because once a quarterback and a receiver locking like that, defenses can't scheme it away. It's instinctive. And for Cleveland fans, that kind of budding chemistry feels like the first taste of hope they've had in forever. Now, let's address the elephant in the room, Joe Flacco. Flacco is a legend in his own right. Super Bowl champion, MVP, a guy who walked into Cleveland last year and, against all odds, dragged him into playoff contention. He deserves respect. But here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. At 39 years old, Flacco isn't the future. His ceiling is low, his arm is fading, and while he can hold the ship steady, he's not steering it toward glory. He's the bridge, and Shedeur is the destination. As for Dylan Gabriel, look, the kid is fire. He has guts, but he's small. And in the NFL, size matters. It's not just about seeing over the line. It's about surviving the punishment, about delivering throws with power and velocity when bodies are crashing around you. Gabriel flashes potential, but he doesn't have the durability or frame Shedeur brings. That's why Gabriel feels like trade bait now, and why Sanders feels inevitable. So here's the question hanging over Cleveland. How long can you hide inevitability? How long before Flacco has a bad game and the fans start chanting Sanders' name? How long before Gabriel stalls out in preseason and the front office quietly ships him off to make room? How long before Stefanski realizes that the one guy who could save his job is the kid he's been slow playing as QB3? Because let's not forget, Stefanski's not safe here. This is a coach under fire. Every decision he makes is being scrutinized. And mishandling a potential franchise quarterback, that's the kind of mistake that gets you run out of town. Here's how I see it playing out. Flacco starts the year. Things are steady at first, maybe even decent. But eventually the cracks show. The offense sputters. The Browns drop a winnable game. The whispers turn into roars. And then it happens. Shedeur Sanders gets the call. The crowd erupts. The team rallies. And from that first drive, maybe it's a quick out to Bond, maybe a clean slant to Njoku, you can feel the difference. The calm, the command, the spark. And once that spark catches fire, there's no putting it out. Because the Browns don't just need a quarterback. They need a leader. Someone they can believe in. Someone who can finally break the cycle of heartbreak. And Shedeur Sanders looks ready to be that guy. So let's circle back to the big picture. The Browns have been cursed at quarterback for decades. But curses end in strange ways. Not with fanfare. Not with the obvious choice. Sometimes they end when the guy everyone overlooks steps into the spotlight and refuses to leave. That's Shedeur. He wasn't supposed to be the answer. He wasn't supposed to make noise this soon. He wasn't supposed to threaten the depth chart. But here we are, and the Browns are staring at their hidden ace, wondering how much longer they can keep pretending he's not ready.